because you understand how this goes.
I know how it goes, yeah.
But like some people will like swallow it and then
Whoa.
And they'll be like this far away and thinking that people can hear them, but
Exactly.
it's okay. It's not everyone's like
right. Yeah, it's fine, man.
verse.
We know how it goes.
Yeah,
for sure.
Speaking of mics, Mike Scarfo, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, man.
After
this is so much fun.
A little bit of a break here. I had a little month off. Might get into that, might not. Nothing crazy. I just like kind of stopped, but we're back and with a bang. Honestly, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to have you on, just because like the timing I think works out perfectly, with just like the music that's coming out,
Definitely.
what you're up to. And everything. I just think it's a good time to have you on. And so quick little introduction of who you are. TurntableTeachers Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's you.
Yes, sir.
Coach for Andover basketball.
Yes, sir.
That's you. Teacher as well. Obviously, turntable teacher. That's you. And music enthusiast, I'd say, is a good way to describe it.
I would hope so, given what I do with the podcast. I would hope that I'm a music enthusiast, that I'm not just doing this, like, by the seat of my pants.
Yeah. People ask me, so we collab once a week.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's easy. It's chill. You just throw out a quick, every Friday, just 4 songs I'm listening to with the Turntable Teacher's Choice, because I started doing it a little before, and I was like, what better way to just have a little collab, little crossover,
definitely.
than something as simple as that, which we can throw up in a day. If we miss, who cares? It's so light, so easy. It's nice.
Absolutely. And big shout out to Anthony for, like, obviously getting us, Anthony Petrellis from Beyond Podcast, who got us acquainted, and definitely a great thing that he's doing with, like, the Beyond family and everybody that is, like, involved in that. I think that that's really a beautiful thing that you have. Kind of I think, and it's funny, like, in the music scene and music industry, like, artists do this all the time, where they get together, they have groups of people that maybe they work well together with, or producers and just collectives. That happens a lot. And I feel like Anthony doing this with a podcast group is awesome.
Genius stuff.
Yeah, it's great. And he runs, like, our meetings so well. And and everybody's obviously doing, like, very different style podcasts as well. So we're not, like, obviously competing or anything like that. And it's nice to be able to, like, hear, like, what other people are doing, how other people run their shows, how they network, how they market, like, all that business side stuff. Like, there's just, like, a constant learning curve with that. You will always, like, have opportunity to learn in this space doing that. So.
Plus, he's just a great guy. Like, he's just the boss.
That's a given. That's
we love Anthony. He's literally one of the best people I've ever met in my life.
He is.
So he's the man. But
for sure.
People have asked me from that, like, they'll ask me about what's that collab about? Like,
sure.
what's that Turntable Teachers all about? And I explain to them as best I can. But just for, like, a real definite, what is it that you do?
Sure.
For the people, what better than from the horse's mouth himself?
So Turntable Teachers, we've been running for almost 4 years now, I want to say.
Wow.
January 2019, I believe, is when we launched. So we're on our 4th year, for about 3.5 years in. It didn't start like what we're doing now. It didn't start out that way. Right now, we're really focused on promoting not only local artists, but national artists, as many artists as we can, like in the indie scenes. Artists that aren't being pushed by labels and or don't have as much backing behind them. And that can range from, like, different varieties of sizes. You have some artists that I work with that have a few hundred followers or a few thousand followers, to artists that I work with that have tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands. It just depends. But mostly we do a lot of promotion, interview style like this sort of, with obviously Massachusetts-based musicians, artists, producers, really anybody that's actually in the music industry. But we branch out too. Like, I'm always down to branch out. I actually just, as of tonight, I'm dropping an episode with a guy from Miami, Florida, because there's this other podcaster that I became friends with, like, through all this and just networking, and, like, I think he, like, found our podcast or something like that, like, on a hashtag, and we ended up, like, hitting it off. We did this cool. He's from Miami. He does shout out Old Head Ed, the Bruce Beats and Eats podcast. And during the pandemic, we did, like, this really cool, like, Miami or Florida versus Massachusetts Instagram Live, where we would play, like, a clip of a Massachusetts song, like have it go up against like a Florida song, and like vice versa, to like pretty much showcase like like both of those like pockets and scenes.
Yeah.
Like it's just stuff like that. So we're just really trying to be innovative and creative on how we help some of these artists just do PR work for them, blogging, playlist curating, obviously through our interview series called the Guest Speaker Series. I interview a lot of pretty interesting people that have accomplished a lot more than I think people around in the Massachusetts area would actually know and like understand. If you're not like paying attention. And that's where I saw like a huge opportunity here, where there just wasn't a massive like press really scene here for the Massachusetts music scene. You're seeing a lot of artists having to leave Massachusetts in order to grow themselves and really get to that next stage, myself included. And I think there's other there's other platforms now in Massachusetts that are starting to become established, and I think our goal is to keep as many people here as we can, not have them feel like they have to go to LA or have to go to New York or even Atlanta to grow their brand and to grow their fan base. So that's really the big thing that we are trying to do with the platform.
Yeah, it's very important because just in general, like music, I know me and you might be a little biased because we love music. Like we love music.
Yeah.
But it's culture. It's who you are. Totally. It's who you like. If you can tell a lot about like a people or like a culture in general, a place, a time in history, you can tell a lot from the music.
Oh, totally.
So
1000%.
If it's just like leaving us, it just takes away from like everything that we are. It's like Italy without the food.
Yeah,
like,
it's a good point.
It's just like it's part of what it is. So if we can keep the music inside, like, and not keep them from growing, but keep them here and build the Massachusetts scene to be something that's like important. Like Boston's a big city. Boston's legit. So you could definitely get some traction, some shows, some things together. I think that there's plenty of opportunity to grow here. You just gotta show people that it's possible, really.
Right. And I think COVID obviously, paused a lot of those types of things like shows. But there really was always a really interesting underground scene, an indie scene here, especially in the hip hop sector. I think there's a lot of comparisons you can draw between like what Massachusetts music, and at least in hip hop, sounded like for a long time, synonymous with New York, like that East Coast sound. The problem is, though, is a lot of artists, rappers, whoever, they ended up going to New York instead of staying. Look at someone like Guru from Gangstar. You familiar with Gangstar?
Yeah.
Like he was a Roxbury guy. He was a
Roxbury.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Work is one of my favorite songs.
Yeah.
That's a great. I think it's the best instrumental, like maybe top 5 instrumental I've ever heard in my life. I love that song.
Moment of Truth. That whole album's legit. That's one of my favorite albums. Like that.
Roxbury.
Yeah,
he's from. Know that.
I swear to God.
I knew it was Mass. But I didn't know that. That's crazy.
He grew up here and then he left. He went to New York. I think when he was teenager, or maybe he was a little older than that. I can't quite remember off the top of my head. But he was always synonymous with New York and DJ Premier and that New York style, that boom bap, old school hip hop sound. But his roots are pretty much Boston, so in Massachusetts. So which is really interesting, like someone like that, where he doesn't really get looked at as a Massachusetts artist per se, or not somebody that was ever synonymous with Massachusetts, but that's where he
grew his sound.
Exactly.
You have to get your personality comes out. If you're good, your personality comes out in your music, and obviously he's good. 1000%. So and you get the personality from the place that you grow up in.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in like a nurture over nature. Like you're not born away. You're like built into the person that you become, So like your environment, the people you have around you are very important. I always say, like, if you want to know what you're like, look at like your 10 best friends, and then just like somewhere in the middle is you, and like including your family as well.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And it's like a mirror of who you are. It's like the things you attract is what you are. And so I feel like he's synonymous with New York, right?
For sure.
In reality, like the things that make him are here.
I think that's both. I think it's a combination of the two. I wouldn't say that like him going to New York. I think it totally influenced his sound, his style, his career just in general. but I don't think you get like you're right. I don't think you get like Guru the person without Boston and
For sure.
what he was here when he was here. So and obviously rest in peace, Guru.
Yeah, right.
I love. Yeah, I was a huge Gangstar fan growing up. Still am. But to this day, I thought the new album that they did with like all the or not new, it was like a couple years ago, but the album that they put out with a lot of his posthumous verses was like super cool.
Yeah.
What's
your opinions on that? The posthumous releases.
So that's a good question. I feel like with something specifically like that Guru, that Gangstar album, like we hadn't heard Gangstar from that point on. I think their previous album before that was like 2003 or something like that, or 2002. I'm probably getting my dates wrong, but he died like I think early 2000s. I want to say. So like he had been dead for like 15, 16 years before that album released. And I feel like at that point it was a great tribute to him putting that album out.
Yep.
So that I liked, but what I can't stand sometimes about the posthumous stuff is some of these labels that are using it to just continue to make money off of their name. Like you're looking at someone like Juice WRLD, right?
Yeah,
I know he has a lot of music. Perfect example. He's had a lot of music he's made a lot of music, obviously, over the last, couple years before he passed and all that. But, he's already had, 3 posthumous records come out?
Something
2?
like that,
2
yeah.
It's been at least 2.
But the thing is, they're like 20-song track lists. So
that's what I mean.
You might as well be 3 or 4 albums at that point.
Right. In today's day and age, when albums, technically you can have an album that's like 7, 8 tracks. But that's a whole nother conversation. Yeah. But which is an interesting conversation. But anyway. Yeah. I'm torn because it's a little, I think, like violating in a sense where it's like sometimes I would rather sit there and be like, all right, just let the artist, let the discography that's out there speak for it. Now, something like Mac Miller, that was a little bit of different situation too, because that project Circles was like 80% done, and his producer just kind of finished it.
Rest in peace.
All these
ridiculous.
Juice WRLD, Mac. Yeah, I mean Mac's an interesting one because I did not like Mac Miller.
I gave him no respect, dude.
When he came out,
when he came out from like in the way beginning. No, I gave him no respect.
I liked Kids. That was a really great mixtape. Super, super cool. And like just different and fun. Blue Slide Park, though, is where he lost me. Like at first.
Really? Yeah.
Did not like that project. Thought it was way too commercial. But past that, after Blue Slide Park.
Like Faces?
It was Faces, and then you had I can't remember the few after that.
The
like
Divine
in order.
Feminine.
Divine Feminine was a little bit later, but then you had like
later.
Watching Movies. You had Good Morning.
He's got a lot of projects, huh? Never really thought of that.
I can't remember the one that was right after Blue Slide Park, but pretty much all his albums after that, Swimming in Circles, obviously, were great too. Oh, yeah. I think the one after Blue Slide, I'm gonna look it up just because it's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
But Watching Movies was where it got me because I was really into Odd Future at that time, and what I love about Mac Miller, and similarly what I like about, I've said this on a couple of podcasts before, what I like about Mac Miller was he never stuck to just one sound. He constantly elevated and reinvented the sounds that he was playing with. Mm-hmm. So I always, like experimenting, I always loved that about Mac Miller, just from that perspective of as an artist, like, okay, I am not going to box myself in. I'm going to continue to, Watching Movies was right after that. Yeah. So if you go listen to Blue Slide Park, anybody at home, if you go listen to Blue Slide Park and then you listen to Watching Movies and you didn't know it was Mac Miller, you just listen to like the soundscapes and the aesthetics of both albums, you'd be like, how did the same artist create both of these records?
Hey, it's a good point. And a lot of times that's what makes artists really good.
That's exactly.
Not to get too far away, but I think of like Kanye. Like I think of 808s versus like The Life of Pablo versus 808s versus like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy are completely different. All right, yeah, cool. Well, we had technical difficulties. But you know what? Why? It's because I took time off, so now I'm rusty.
No, that's not it.
That was very random, though.
That was random. No, it just literally just shut off. No, that's not it. Like, we've had, dude, I can't even describe to you. It's not every episode, but like, I've been doing this now, like I said, for 3.5 years, for almost going on 4 years. And the amount of times that we've had technical difficulties, whether it's like, with the actual recording or when we were doing the Zoom ones on Zoom, like,
that must have been so annoying. That
we,
must be crazy.
I would say we mastered the Zoom interview.
I might need you to help me out with that.
So here's the trick.
I kind of want to try doing them because not everyone wants to, like the drive for you. Thank you for taking it, but not everyone wants to do that. Oh, no,
you're fine. You're not that far from me. I live in
traffic.
The traffic. Well, yeah, I had to go do an errand that like kind of looped me around, but that's obviously a story for another day.
Mm-hmm.
I just helped out Anthony with this.
Yeah.
The Zoom interview. So what we started doing, probably after like the first few months, this was like right when the pandemic started. I was having issues with like whether it was their Wi-Fi or my Wi-Fi or like just naturally like things cutting in and out. You just don't want to lose that. So what we were doing, or what I was having guests doing, and it worked out well as a music podcast. Working with musicians, a lot of whom have home studios and sound and stuff, having them record their audio outside of the Zoom, and then I record my audio outside the Zoom, and then in post production, you just line everything up, and then you just get rid of the Zoom audio, just get rid of it, and I would record in the gallery view, so like the side by side view, have them record in the speaker view, so just their picture, so then you would have two different video. Yeah, you'd have two different streams of video, and then, worst case, if something freezes or like they go off on a long tangent, I just cut seamlessly back to the full screen of them.
That's genius.
Instead of having to switch back and forth while we're doing it.
Great call. Wow.
It worked out.
You did figure it out.
We did.
That's
I told
legit.
you I
mastered this.
We mastered the Zoom, which I don't know if that's like a feat or any sort of like thing that we should be.
They might not get it. I totally get you, bro.
We mastered the Zoom podcast.
It's hard. It's hard. It's weird. Yeah. It's like it sounds like you want it to sound really good. You want
the best sound quality possible.
You don't want to spend an arm and a leg. You don't want to like send a camera to people's houses. You don't want to do all that.
No, but even for you, like having people record it on like their phones, like the voice memos, works perfect.
All right.
It doesn't sound that bad. It sounds pretty good.
You've given me some good things to work.
Yeah, we can talk a little more. I'll give you like how I do things. But yeah, I'm trying to get away from that now. Like obviously with like the guy I just had on in Miami, like that we had to do that remotely, obviously. But going forward, I'm actually recording now at Nowhere Studios in Methuen. Shout out John Glass. Who's amazing, by the way. We'll talk about him a little bit later. And Andre X, SK, Melks, all the producers over there. Nicest guys in the world, by the way. And guys that like I not only respect and appreciate, but they're super dope producers, super dope artists in their own right. Some of them, and just really doing like amazing work. Their space is incredible. I did a little promotion for them for their new space, and I've become, I would say good friends with those guys over there, and they've been really good to me, and I use their space now.
That's awesome.
On top of sometimes using my at-home studio that I built right before the pandemic. So yeah, it's definitely trying to get away from the Zoom stuff a little bit more, just because the in-person, the energy so much better. Because even on the Zoom, like when doing a Zoom interview, and I know this is like not really interesting content, so we can stop it after this.
No, people like this stuff though. Behind the curtain.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, behind the scenes, behind the curtain. With the Zoom interview, and the way we did it, having the audio, the more quality audio, editing that in, it did make it sound like you were in the same room with that person, which was pretty cool. Like if you only listened to it, you'd be like, oh, they're definitely like in the same room. That's super dope. But you're still missing that like in-person sort of back and forth that you just can't get online.
Yeah, there's just something about. I mean, to this point, there's just something about it. Being in person is just better. It makes the interactions just start better. You feel more comfortable. You're in the same area, like you're feeling the same things. Like I don't know, it just makes sense to me that it works a little bit better being in person.
Yeah, you can go off on energy so much easier.
Oh my god.
And like the Zoom, whatever, they worked. Like we had to do it during the pandemic. Yep. We had to keep the podcast going some way, and in a lot of ways, we actually grew a ton from doing those interviews. It just made things and from a convenience perspective, it totally worked. But yeah, so like with our platform, to start, we were never ever like doing any interviews. Like I started this, it just started as like a music review podcast. Like if you go to like our old like episodes, like probably our first 20 episodes, they're all just like music reviews from like big name artists like Billie Eilish. I think we did a J. Cole album. Did we do a J. Cole album? I'm trying to remember some of the albums we did. Oh, and we did an Anderson .Paak album.
Love Anderson .Paak.
Yeah, he's
Love
awesome.
him.
We did that one with Dr. Dre that he had come out. Not Oxnard. Yeah, no, Oxnard. Yeah,
Oxnard.
Oxnard. And then we did Jid's debut album.
The debut?
The debut.
I love that album.
It's great.
What's it called again? Come on now.
Not the Never Story, the other one. His like actual studio album that he put out, the debut. DiCaprio 2.
DiCaprio 2. There you go.
Yeah, that's the one. We did that one. A bunch. So like if you want to hear those, like whatever, go back to those. But yeah, I initially had a co-host. His name was Cody, and we met through a friend, and really hit it off. Like same thing. We had really great like similar music tastes, and really just had this like idea, like this vision for like what we wanted the platform to be.
Yeah.
And at the time, I think, and even still now, but like I think people like Anthony Fantano with the Needle Drop, Dead End Hip Hop, like all those, Sean C, like all those platforms were getting bigger. Like music reviewers were becoming like the YouTube style, were becoming like much bigger at that point. And we just felt, and podcasts were, I mean, it's not like how it is now, like how saturated podcasts were. Like when we started 3.5 years ago, podcasting wasn't as saturated. Like we were just kind of messing around. But that's how we started. Initially, it was just music reviews, but we weren't really seeing a lot of traction and growth because it's like, I think a couple of reasons. I don't think we knew how to really use social media properly and like marketing. I don't think we were like ever like even thinking that. It was really just like our friends and family that were like checking us out. We probably had like when he left the show, I think we had maybe like 400 or 500 followers at that time.
Yeah.
Like on Instagram, like we had probably a quarter of what we have now. So yeah, eventually he ended up leaving for personal reasons, and then it was just me. And I was like, well, I can't run a podcast by myself. It's not like you can't just listen to me talk for hours and hours and hours on end. Like I didn't want to be like a YouTuber necessarily. Like I tried that once actually with Kendrick Lamar's Damn.
Yeah.
That was the first album where I was like, all right, I want to get on the conversation of this. I want to talk about this. And like I recorded a review of Kendrick Lamar's Damn, and it never saw the light of day. I deleted it. It's gone in cyberspace. It's just gone.
Was it not good?
It was fucking terrible, bro.
Really?
It was terrible. Yeah, because I was nervous. Like I didn't know what I was doing.
It's hard.
Yeah. And like
I contemplated with this most recent one, like with Miss Morale and the Big Steppers. I contemplated because like I
doing
I
a
was
review.
Like, yeah, I contemplated.
Well, like this can be.
This could be like a little pseudo version. This could be a little like a little attempt. And then maybe when Post Malone's album comes out, I could review that. Because I'm thinking, I just want to do like whatever I feel like doing. Because it's just like, I don't know. Like I don't want to get bored doing other things. And I don't really care if it's like big or not. I need to speak. That's just like who I am. I just need to speak. So no matter what way that comes across, like whether that means I get to meet interesting people like yourself and talk about what you guys got going on, because then like it's very interesting. It's very like everything is interesting to me if it's new, and everything you're telling, every word you say is new to me. So like it's all cool this way, and I love having guests for that reason. That's why I'll never stop doing that.
Right.
But still, sometimes with like a new album comes out, I've listened to Mr. Morales, Big Steppers. I'm not even kidding. Probably 12, 13 times.
Yeah.
It's only an hour 15, and I've listened to it probably 12, 13 times, and it's just something that I feel like I'm starting to pick up on. Like music, I'm at the age I feel like I can kind of understand music now a little better than maybe like 4 years ago.
Interesting.
5 years ago.
And how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
21.
Oh, wow. Oh,
yeah.
21. Congratulations.
Yeah, just turned 21 a month ago.
Did you?
Month and a half ago, yeah.
You made it, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
You know, could pass now. We're chill. I mean, I don't like, me turning 21 was no big deal because people that know me, I don't drink. like don't drink. I'm a college kid that doesn't drink. It's completely fine.
That's fine.
People, honestly, oddly enough, people like. I thought getting to school, like, you're young. Like, I didn't really want to drink. I just never really felt the need.
Yeah.
And I was always thinking, like, maybe that'll bite me one day. Like, maybe. Everyone loves it. I don't know. They're like, yo, like, I got so much respect. I'm like, why? Like, it's not even, like, I don't have nothing against people that drink. I'm like, yo, go for it. I feel like everyone should take a load off once in a while. It's just like, I got no load. So, like, I'm just chilling all the time, so it's no big deal. But wow, doing these sidetrack.
Doing these podcasts are kind of
oh my god,
you're probably your
outlet,
right?
It's drugs. I love it.
It's your drug.
It is.
It is, and like once you start doing this, especially if you fall into it and you really like it, and it is. I don't want to say it's addicting, but like it definitely feeds that like serotonin.
Yeah.
That you can get from. Yeah, it's interesting, and I think and yeah, dude, like I mean, I don't really drink that much either. Like it's really. I've lost a taste for it over the years. Like I've never was a big drinker to begin with anyway, but it's just there's nothing wrong with that, man. Like it's actually honestly it's probably a good thing. Like you'll be healthier going forward.
Yeah, my liver.
Some people
give me high fives every time
absolutely. Yeah, your liver probably loves you, and that's great.
We're boys.
It's great. Of course you guys are, because some people their livers are like, yo.
Stop
doing this fucking shit now. This is like we are going to die.
Yeah,
or we're going to need.
For real.
So. No, you're fine, man. Like this is like I guess a good conversation segue because like what I preach as a teacher is like, yo, be yourself, man. Like don't be like influenced by other people. Like have your own opinions, and it's be open to like changing your opinion. That too, or to be open to change. Don't necessarily like be stuck in your ways, or also at the same time like. I'd allow other people to like dictate what your opinion on something is, like or how you want to like live your life. Like if you don't want to drink, don't fucking drink.
Yeah.
Like if you want to drink, do it responsibly. But whatever. Like and hopefully you're of age and that you whatever. But I just feel like with all these certain things, like don't just do shit because your friends are doing it. Like there's never a good reason for that. It's the equivalent like that. The example they use where it's like if your friend jumped off a cliff, would you? And it's like some people, but like if you use that analogy, like some people would.
You lose the people.
Yeah,
you lose people that way. I think I've been big on balance. That's been like I always have like a thing.
Yeah.
Like that. Like I'm focused on like. Maybe like mentally,
like
keeping me sharp. For me, it's been balance recently.
Balance is key, man.
Just because it, like, even just with you saying that, like, you're like, all right, don't be who you want to be. Don't let people influence you.
Right.
But then it's also like, keep your mind open. Listen to people. Don't shut people out at the same time.
Yeah.
Everything's balanced. You got to find the right balance.
Exactly.
And then you can kind of just become a stand-up human being. And
balance and moderation.
Oh my god, it's everything. It's everything. And I think with good balance you can really like do a lot of amazing things. But honestly, speaking about Miss Morale and the Big Steppers though, I do want to get your thoughts.
Yeah.
I want to know what you think about the album. You can take it in whatever direction you want.
Sure.
If you want to talk about tracks that you loved, do you want to talk about overall what themes you felt like, because like I haven't really looked at many reviews yet. I will soon, but I want to keep myself raw for this.
Same.
And I want to maybe talk about what I think it means, whatever he's talking about, but take it whatever direction you want. What did you think?
So I'm really glad, first of all, that we took a week before talking about this project, because what drives me crazy about this day and age, and this will be a slight tangent before I get into the project, but like, how can people review it when it's been out for 10 or 12 hours? Can someone explain that to me, how you can review something, anything, whether it's a movie or music or TV show, whatever the fuck it is? Why are we reviewing and giving ratings to stuff 10 hours into it, 12 hours into it, a day into it? It's just came out. I had a student come up to me and go, it's way better than the off season. I go, dude, it's 10 a.m. It's 10 a.m. How can you tell me it's 10 a.m. on a Friday that it just came out at midnight? How can you tell me that it's better than the off season when it's been out for 10 hours?
Let it marinate.
Let it marinate. Exactly.
Damn marinate.
Like, let it chill. And
he doesn't. The kid probably doesn't even know what it's a. My thought process has changed from Sunday to Monday, then Monday to Tuesday.
That's fine.
Today it's different than it was. It's probably gonna be different in a week and then in a year.
Exactly.
But you gotta at least give it like 2 days.
And people out there saying it's a classic. chill. Let it breathe. We don't know that yet. I'm not sitting here saying it's a bad album, because that's not my narrative at all. I love it actually as well. I'm with you. I really love it. I have a few gripes with it, but overall I really love it. But let's chill. Let's not say it's a classic. Let's not compare it to his other albums yet. Let's let it marinate, as you said, for a little bit. I don't know what that time is, but it can't be a week. It just freaking came out.
It can't.
Chill.
Yeah.
But anyway, having said that, I think it's what I really like about Kendrick, and what I've always liked about Kendrick Lamar, is he is such an amazing storyteller. He is the best storyteller of our generation. It sometimes felt like, on this project in particular, but if you go back and backlog, like, you'll hear this throughout all of his music. He's rapping, but he makes it sound like he's literally just talking to you or having a conversation.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Very much on this album, I felt that
This
way.
album more so than the others.
Like
definitely.
on Mother I Sober.
Yeah.
Even
Auntie Diaries, he does the same thing.
Auntie Diaries.
It literally just sounds like he's just talking. And in the way he's able to, like, make it all just melodically flow as a hip hop song, but almost as like a TED talk at the same time.
Yeah.
And people have a lot of gripes with Auntie Diaries, which I understand. I know that, like, using the gay slur as much as he does, is probably a little bit grating for some people, which I can completely understand. Like, yeah. I get that.
It's not for everybody.
I think, with a song like that, though, I think he's trying to prove a point. Like, I was ignorant at one point in my life. Like, I thought saying these words, or like looking at gay people this way. I mean, he uses gay people as in the LGBTQ community as like the sort of example here. But he's talking about, hey, like, I was ignorant to this, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that like, I'm not the only person that was ignorant to this, and I was able to, like, change my mind. Like, he's talking about it from a younger Kendrick that, like, did not have, like, the worldly view he has now on like, life. Yeah. So I really loved that. Mother I Sober is an interesting track as well, because he pretty much admits he was a sex addict. So like, he doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, right? He says that, doesn't do drugs, but again, we're all addicted to something, or we are not addicted to something. We all have a vice.
Yeah, it's everyone's got their vices.
Everyone's got their vices, and his was sex. It sounds like. And
I never knew that about him, really.
He's never really, you know what? And it's funny though, because he's kind of floated it out there to us a few times, and we haven't really picked up on it. Like Poetic Justice, if you go back and listen to that song from Good Kid, Mad City, some in there. Lust and Love on Damn.
Yeah.
His sort of comparison on those two elements of Lust and Damn is really interesting now with this context of this new album. So what I will say with Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is we get just a better perspective about Kendrick Lamar as a human being. That I will say right now.
For sure.
In terms of comparing it to other projects, I think other than Good Kid, I have a better perspective about Kendrick from this particular album than I do To Pimp a Butterfly and Damn.
I'll say, Good Kid, Mad City did a better job maybe of saying what like his childhood like actually consisted of.
Right.
I feel like, but in terms of like introspection and mental state, like this is the most raw I've ever seen this guy.
Oh yeah.
And maybe even like anybody. I've never felt this like, I feel like I'm like almost in a room that I shouldn't be in. Like, you know what I mean?
No, that's so well said. That's so well said. I completely agree. I think that just how we get into his psyche on this album is amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. I remember my first time listening through, I was like, also the production on it is very interesting. Like the first track, it starts out, it's like you get the steps, which I want to talk about. The tap dance. I want to talk about what you feel about that. Like, I have my own idea. I really don't know yet, and I feel like I did kind of get, not confirmed to me, but my idea of what it is, I'll get to in a second. But it starts with you hear the voice like tell them, and then it's like tell them and then the piano. It sounds like a theater production.
I said this exact same thing to somebody. I literally said this entire album feels like a play.
I feel like it feels like
a play.
The pianos, the grand,
the
like,
orchestration.
It's all of it. I think we're still okay.
Oh, okay.
My
computer
she
does
just
that.
sleeps sometimes. It's okay.
Yeah.
But it feels like it's orchestrated, and it feels like a chorus. And
it does. It's all
it's very
orchestration's
like
incredible.
the instruments are very real.
Oh yeah.
It might be real instrumentation. I'm wondering how many
Yeah.
of it's like synthesized and
no,
how many of it's like tech.
There is, you can tell there's some synth stuff, but I think mostly this is all from what my ear can gather or grab. I think it's mostly live instrumentation.
Feels real. Feels very real.
It sounds all like pure orchestration, which an artist that I work closely with does a lot of the similar things. So like with the orchestration, so I can just tell that it's very very similar. So no, but I completely agree about it being very cinematic, but also like theatrical.
Yeah.
Especially like on a song like "We Cry Together."
Oh my God, what an awesome song! I don't know. I'm not gonna listen to it much. I'm gonna say that right now. There's no way I listen to that song that much. But
doesn't have a ton of replayability.
There's no way I don't like in a year or two be like, let me hear that again. What was that about? It's just like it's a moment. It's like a moment. I feel like in that album that like there's a reason we're all talking about it. Like, there's a reason I think of it. It stuck out to me, stuck out to all my friends. They're like, yeah, what was that about? It's not just music at that point almost.
No, it's not.
It's amazing stuff.
And what people with that song need to realize is it's so beyond, and he spells it out there. Like, he says it to us as if we are, like, children, or that we need to be spoon-fed it. Like, at the beginning of the song, it's literally like, this is the world right now. This is how the world talks and communicates. And the whole thing is like a huge extended metaphor. It's this couple that is clearly toxic for each other. There's toxic masculinity in it. I think part of it as well, I think it does a really good job of showing that, like, hey, it's not always the women that are crazy.
Yeah.
Like, the men can be... can be toxic and can be very condescending and play the mind games. Like, I think we think of mind games as only like a female thing that can be done.
Yeah.
I think men can easily play some of those mind games and, sort of the gaslighting and all that. I think Taylor Page, I don't know who she is, but
I don't know who she is either. She
did
killed
a
it.
phenomenal job.
Probably, I don't even know if it feels like she's not even a rapper. Like, it feels like she was just like a performer, like an actress or something. Like,
I know.
I wonder what her story is. I probably should have looked into it or something. But she was like, I mean, like, not like Kendrick got like outshined a little bit. Like, I think about her voice when I think of the track.
She killed
I think of her
it.
voice. It was
She
really
killed
well
it.
done. I mean, obviously his idea.
Yeah.
But like, still, she did amazing. It sounds like she's crying.
It felt like voice acting, literally.
It was
literally
incredible.
Felt like voice acting.
That track was great.
And then in the end too, it's really awesome, where and it shows where we're at sometimes, like, in our society, and also like not only just our society, but if you look at it from a literal perspective, how some like toxic relationships can end up. Like, they have these massive blowout fights, and then they're like, oh, like, let's just like make up and have sex, and it's all gonna be okay.
Yeah.
And then they'll just probably do the same shit like next week.
Yep.
But I love at the very end where the woman comes in, you hear the tap dancing again.
Yeah.
And you think like you could, at first it sounded like it could have been like them banging, but then it's like the voice comes in, it's like, stop tap dancing around the conversation. And it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you just get the mind blow, like, damn.
So, yeah, and that's what, tap dancing. I think of it as, the question is, I feel like, not like, because, that's a massive moment.
Massive.
And it kind of makes you realize, like, all this tapping you're hearing. It's like, and it's put at good points. It's like, because obviously it's at the end of songs and at the beginning of them.
Sure.
It's very, like, obvious that it's there. It's not, like, beat
Yeah.
into the background. It's sometimes the only sound that you're hearing is just feet.
Which is
And
crazy.
I think of it as, like, for some reason, I feel like the big steppers, like, these steps I'm hearing, I think of it as, like, society. And I think of it as, like, the people. And, like, maybe, and I know, I don't know how true this is. This is what I think of it, though, because I've heard him in the songs. He was talking about, like, Mirror, for example, the last one.
Yep, the last song.
He's talking about, like, like, a person. I think he puts us, like society, into a person, and says, like, oh, she's, like, adding me on Twitter. She wants me to, like, be this person for them, but for her, but it's us. He's talking about us. And I think another thing he says in the song, in one of the songs, I can't think of what it is, but he's saying, like, you guys have all these issues, and we have these issues, and I'm trying to help you. Like, I am trying to help out these people that just won't listen. It's all about tapping the feet. It's all about dancing to the song.
Yep.
It's all about dancing around the conversation. All you want to do is dance.
Huh.
And that's just what I felt like it was. And then, so he had his merch drop.
Okay.
And he put out, and the tagline is, for the big steppers.
Huh.
So I'm wondering if that backs up my theory. I don't know if it's true. I have done zero research, but I'm going to go with it for now. What did you think, though?
So about the tap dancing or?
Tap dancing, big steppers, Mr. Morale, like if you feel like he's Mr. Morale.
Well, yeah, I
Whatever
think
that means. Like,
I think it's him trying to find a moral ground again. I think him being away from rap and hip hop, and he's somebody that, like, I see him and Frank Ocean very similarly in the sense where they'll drop an album and they're gone for like however long. You know what I mean? They're
until
like,
the next album.
They're like enigmas. They really try to stay out of like the limelight. And you never really heard like women going around saying like, "Oh, Kendrick Lamar, like he's a player, like he sleeps around, like blah blah blah." You never heard anything like that. So he's very private, which is fine. I think that's a good thing. Like for some people need that private life, and that's totally fine. I was hearing too, like he pretty much stayed off social media for like 2 years supposedly as well.
Yeah,
something like that. I think it was like during the pandemic, which
I think
was probably,
you can kind of tell from some of the songs, like,
it was probably
not
a
that
good
he's
choice.
tone deaf, but like I know like using the slur, like I personally,
Right.
not
That's
a
a good point.
massive issue for me. Like I completely understand. Like I understand people having issues with these things.
Yeah.
And I respect everyone's opinions or whatever. I just think like to each his own. And if it's art, I feel like you can get away with a lot with art. You should be able to, or else people will be scared to create. So
That's a good point.
But I don't think that was his intention. I don't feel like
No,
he was
I
doing
don't
it trying
think
to
so, yeah.
say anything rude. But I don't think he was doing it trying to say like I should be able to say what I want either. I feel like he was just kind of like he just kind of wasn't. I feel like he was kind of tone deaf to the situation in a way of like. You don't realize like he hasn't been around. He hasn't been looking at everything. And I know he talked about cancel culture a little bit in there, so he knows like some things are going on.
Right.
And you don't seem to like cancel culture one bit. I think he threatened to pull his stuff from Spotify because they were gonna pull R. Kelly's. And he was like, I don't want to be on Spotify if they're pulling R. Kelly.
And we cry together when he says the R. Kelly line.
Something like that too. I think he said, and not that that's what that was saying. I think that was like indicating something that happened in the past. But he
when you're saying he's trying to pull R. Kelly's music from Spotify.
Yes.
I see what you're saying.
So
okay,
I feel like he just I don't know. He seems a little. He feels like a guy that hasn't been on the internet as much.
Yeah. I mean, if you.
It's not a bad thing though. It's just different.
I know. So it's like if somebody's using that gay slur that he uses, or even like I think of another word that again was used to be thrown around when I was growing up, and I'm a little older than you. That F word was thrown around constantly, and nobody like ever batted an eye.
Yeah.
And same thing with like the R word as it pertains to like special ed and whatever.
I think I've said it on this podcast before. I'm not going to say it right now because this would be insensitive. This is an insensitive time to use.
It is, and I honestly I see now like I am actually some of those like there are some things that I am happy about. I don't think there's really a need for those two words if I'm being honest. Like, and I'm not just saying that to like be on the right side of this. I always was a little like not turned off by it, but or offended or anything like that. But it always just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like I think we could be a little more articulate than have to use like those two words. But I think what you're saying, it makes a lot of sense. Where it's like if he, you kind of have to be like with the now in terms of like social media and understanding that like these things are like we're not saying those words anymore. Like those are not words that we're people are not outlawing, like there's nothing like written in law that you can't use them, but they're just insensitive. And I think if you are not on somebody that's not on social media, how would you know that?
Yeah, and
to some extent.
One thing he said on the I agree. And one thing he said on the album too, that's been sticking with me recently, is I think I can't think of the exact bar. He said like the media is the new religion. you wipe the
you said that.
conscience.
Yeah.
And I wonder, because I think of back in the day, like not with my back in the day, like back in the day, like before my time, when like religion was like king, especially here in the Americas, like everywhere, religion was everything for a very long time. It's all you really could believe in.
Right.
Science wasn't there yet, so like it's all you could believe in. You had to believe in it. And like they got away with so much, and it's a lot of like brainwashy type feeling, like the Catholic Church. It ain't all sunshine and roses. There's a lot of bad, and then like they got away with so much, almost being separate from the state, like their own laws, their own everything. Everything was just different over there. And it brainwashes people but you couldn't go against it because, like, all right, well, dude, we're all following it. Grow up. Like,
right.
why are you being weird? Why are you trying to be weird? And I feel like that it would be sad if I look back in, like, 25, 30 years, and I'm just like, I was just omitting to what, like, the masses felt and put on the internet.
Sure.
Like, I just feel, I'd feel stupid looking back. I really think that, like, obviously you never feel like you're in that moment. I don't feel like I'm brainwashed. But I don't want to look back and feel like I am, because that made a lot of sense to me. Because comparing it to religion is the first time I've ever been like, oh, crap. Is that what's happening?
It's true, though, because religion did brainwash people. Go back to times of African colonization where white foreign settlers were going into these places and converting people. And they did that in China as well. I mean, look at the Boxer Rebellion. Like, you go back in history, they preached a certain idea or ideas or ideals or however you want to formulate it, or morals, and they put it on and like pretty much pushed it on to people until either wars started and they ended up pretty much colonizing. And that's why, like, Catholicism and Christianity and all those types of religions are like the most popular some of the most popular in the world. Now, if you go outside of, or at least in this part of the world, if you go to like Asia, like it's more Buddhism and Islam for sure. But that was like those are like strong religions. Me though, I did not grow up religious. I was actually taken out of Sunday school when I was really young. My mother asked me in third grade, second grade, right after I got my communion, she's like, "You want to keep doing this?" And I was like, "No." And she's like, "Okay."
Wish my mom said that.
But that's the problem, because that's only because my mom had a very different upbringing than like a lot of other people. So, she's like adopted and had some like other like, not identity issues, but just like, just saw the world from like a different perspective, like just how she
valuable perspective, I bet.
Oh, for sure. And it was helpful for me, to actually be able be able to think for myself and not feel like I was being influenced by, some religion that like I didn't ever really like believe in or was never really like into anyway. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about religion. I feel like it's something that, is, impactful in the right ways, but I'm also somebody of the mindset that's just like, I don't know if any religion can back up with factual information that, their religion is correct. Like, I'm sorry, we can't. Like, there's just no way. Like,
that's almost their saving grace too, and at the same time, because they can also look at you and be like, all right, well, back up with facts, like.
It's true.
Anything.
It's true.
And then like there's some things obviously, but like, and then some things that even refute some religious aspects. But it's like, all right, if we're boiling it down to facts, we don't know probably like 5% of. We're certain about maybe 5% of the things we know.
We don't know shit.
We don't know nothing. So it's like shit. At that point, you be religious. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just believe in some higher power, because this is too scary of a world we're living in.
Yeah.
And I feel like even just having this conversation, coming from like one line of that album.
Exactly. It's the power of music, man.
It's power of music. It's power of Kendrick Lamar, a great point with the best storyteller thing. I was trying to think of a way to like, because I think Kanye is the best artist. of our
I
generation.
think Kanye is the best producer and like
Producer.
creator of soundscapes and sonic, just like sonic atmospheres. Like he is the best at doing that. Like I have never in my lifetime heard anybody do and create the sound structures that he is able to do with
Maps
his with his
Mothers,
music.
crazy. And
It's genius level. He is.
yeah.
I know he's. He says, "Oh, I'm a genius," blah blah blah. But like,
sucks that it's true though.
and he is
sucks.
musically. He's a musical.
Yeah,
genius.
musical. Oh, for sure.
For sure. Genius with other stuff, maybe not.
Maybe not.
But I'll give him that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kendrick Lamar as a storyteller and as somebody to drive conversation. He's incredible.
He's always like, even like, To Pimp a Butterfly, at this point we can call it classic, and at this point we can say it's literally
totally
goes down as one of the top 10 albums, not just rap albums, like albums ever made. People like, it's like a point in history for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that's kind of what drove this album to be made. Is like he's like, I made a masterpiece. Some people find this to be like a perfect piece of art.
Yep.
And it got across the message I wanted. It was commercially successful, so enough people heard it. Plenty of people have heard To Pimp a Butterfly. Everyone's heard All Right. Everyone's heard these important tracks to me. And then 2020 comes, and like, I feel like he must have felt like, because he had writer's block. He admits he had writer's block, and he said, so maybe like from 2020, I honestly feel like the George Floyd stuff happened.
Yeah.
And he felt just like completely and utterly defeated, because he did.
Like a lot of black
he was
people in this
perfect.
country.
He was perfect.
Yeah.
He did the perfect thing, and it did nothing.
And that has to be very disappointing. Just to lack of a better word, disappointing. And not degrading, but yeah, definitely just defeating. I think is the best word.
Yeah.
Because you put all that time and effort, and you craft it in such a way where it's not only you feel like it should have been more impactful than it was,
and you thought it was, probably, at least for a little bit. You probably thought it was like this did it.
This is the issue though, where
maybe
it's
not
like
be perfect, but like this made a great impact. And then you get into a time, like a headspace where like 2020 comes around, and you're just like, not only is everybody stuck inside, and then everything sucks, and then it's just like all the George Floyd stuff happens. You're just like, all right, well, like, did I really, like, Ahmaud Arbery, like, it's all kind of still.
It's still happening.
And not that it'll ever go away forever, because, like, there's just psychos out there. And, like, maybe this is what the media is doing to us. Maybe we're just seeing this stuff. And maybe, I don't know. But it's just, like, is it. For Kendrick, I can see, like, this is what a lot of what the album's about. It's like, listen, I'm not your savior. Like.
Yeah, what did he say? Like,
scary.
Cole
made you think about it.
Cole made you think about it, but he is not your savior.
He is not your savior.
No, like he makes great points on that, and we can't wait on a savior. I think that's his whole point with that song in particular, where it's like, no one's coming to save us. Like, and regardless of what side you're on with it, like if you think a certain president was here to save us, like, sorry, he wasn't. Like, I'm even this president now, like, he's not here to save us. Like, there's no Superman. That's why I think we get infatuated with comics and superheroes, comics. Because and
influencers and famous people too. Same thing.
Yeah, because we see like, oh, okay, this person has influence and like impact and reach. Like, they could save us from X, Y, and Z. And like, it's just sometimes it's just not feasible. You would think that something like To Pimp a Butterfly would have like had a lasting impact, and it probably did in some ways. I think it moved the needle
for sure.
But
it's just like, boom, you know what I mean?
It's it.
And that's way more progress than I'll ever make on anything ever.
Definitely.
But it's just like he must just feel so defeated, and I think the whole like that, like, we are not your savior. Kind of Kendrick saying like, hey, all of us up here on the same level as you guys, actually, we're not your savior. We have no idea what we're doing. We're just people. The only thing, and I think he kind of tells from this album, he's like, I'm happy. I feel like by the end he's happy, because he's chosen himself, as he says at the end. He's like, I choose me, and I think he's been able to right his wrongs. Like, even in the song Savior, like, are you happy for me? Like, I'm smiling. Like, I'm a happy guy. Are you still happy for me, even though I'm not saving your life.
Right.
I'm not dedicating my life to yours.
Right.
And I think he's trying to give people the idea of you should do the same. If everyone took care of themselves, it's this ideal.
Well
if everyone
said.
took care of themselves, then everyone would be okay.
Problem is we're not taking care of ourselves very well. A lot of mental health
Yeah.
problems. We're
More than ever.
Oh, absolutely. We're looking for comfort in all the wrong places. And I'm not sitting here trying to preach, but it's just the truth. I mean, we all fall into these traps. But I hear him, or I hear his point, or if this is his point, where, and I'm not black, but like, you know, there has to be some frustration in where in 2022 we have this mass shooting at a Buffalo supermarket, and after everything that's happened over the last 2 years, and just feeling like how helpless must you feel with this still happening?
Yeah.
It's just senseless. It's all senseless. But what I will say about Kendrick is, and kind of in closing on this project, I have actually one question for you as well.
Yeah, go
but you know, I think for him, his sort of point is to keep the conversation going, is to not stop the conversation, to continue the conversation, because unless we do, we're never going to make any progress at all. And you know, I feel like we have a long way to go. We think we have all this progress that we've made as a society, and in a lot of ways we're going backwards, and about things that, you know, obviously going on in this country that are just ridiculous and don't make sense, and only serve a certain type of person or a certain group of people. And I think art and artistry, movies do a good job of this as well, where they're all a commentary on society and humanity and people. And that's why the beautiful thing about music is it's communication through sound, not language necessarily.
Yeah.
Like you can, and I think if you just listen to the instrumentation of this album, you feel emotion from it.
For sure.
Because of the orchestration, the way it's structured. And there is a beauty to that, where music is, you know, communication through not only language, but also, like, again, also sound. And sort of certain sounds evoke certain emotions, just like color evokes certain emotions or, you know, feelings. It's that same sort of response. And I think what artists, whether it's, you know, like painters or musicians or movie directors, producers, whatever it is, or writers, especially, right? Writers, they have a certain understanding of society and people that not to say regular people, but like citizens that don't do those things, they have a much different and deeper understanding about humanity than the majority of us.
I always say, I think great art and great artists are able to take very complex and intricate, deep ideas and communicate them in whatever way that means. But, you know, normal words, sometimes it's hard, but can't get across what Mother I Sober does.
Exactly.
A story wouldn't be able to get that across, even just without the song in the background of it.
Yeah.
Some art, you know, they say, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. You know what I mean? It's that same idea of, like, sometimes you have to just see it, or sometimes you need to watch it, hear it, and sometimes it needs to be layered together, like great music is, to feel an emotion. Like I listen to Runaway by Kanye. Those pianos make me want to cry. His crooning at the end, like when he's just like, he's not even saying words. It's just like, but you understand. It's just like that. Like
you feel that emotion.
You're just talking. He's just, and that's just what he always does. He just feels like this is his life, and it's like that beautiful piano and the violins and the strings. Sometimes, you know, they're able to take these just massive things, and sometimes those things are emotions that we can't understand, and gives it to us in the form of like 2 minutes. It's amazing. It's amazing.
There's a short story I read recently. Do you know who Kurt Vonnegut is? He wrote Slaughterhouse-Five and Cat's Cradle. By chance?
I know Cat's Cradle, but I don't.
Okay.
I do not know who that guy is.
So he's an author, and he's been long past now, but there's this short story called Harrison Bergeron, and it was written in 1960, or it was published, I think, in 1960, probably written in the 1950s. And the insanity of how spot on, it's basically just, in short, it's a dystopian short story. And I encourage anybody, you go Google this. It'll take you like 10 minutes to read it. I encourage anybody listening to this right now, watching it, whatever, go read this short story. It will blow your fucking mind. He literally is able to, like, explain where society was going in this particular day and age 60 years ago, 50, 70 years ago, through this short story, where this dystopian society, everybody is created, and I mean, when I say equal, like exactly equal. Mm-hmm. Like there's, and just the fallacies of that, and like, where that can be taken like too far. Like it's really, really interesting. Like I highly recommend anybody to read it. But for Kurt Vonnegut to have that foresight is unreal. Like for it to be applicable in 2022.
When was it made? You said 60s?
And it was published in 1961.
Wow.
So it means he must have either wrote it in 1960 or in the 50s or whatever. But
63 years ago.
Exactly. So think about that. Like the visionaries. Like there are people. And this goes back to like the religion. And I'll leave this here where it's like, I am not somebody who is like attached to any certain religion. But I do believe in a higher power. And like it was what you were saying. Like there has to be, you have to believe in something. And for some of these individuals, artists, musicians, whatever, for them to have the foresight, like something is channeling that into them. Like they can't just, it's similar how to like The Simpsons and and even if I was reading something interesting about the Jetsons and the Flintstones, how that's actually people don't understand that could potentially be a dystopian ideals as well. I'm not even gonna get into all that. Google that and research that if you guys are interested. But it's how some of these shows, movies, songs, books, stories, how these people had these ideas and foresight into how things were going to unfold, or to, not to say that they were guessing it necessarily, but just how insane that is.
Yeah.
Is some higher power channeling that? I don't know. It at least leads to a conversation about it.
Heard how Kid Cudi says he makes music?
No.
You love this.
I love Kid Cudi.
He said it on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Oh, I haven't heard this.
He's like, I know it's finished. In the future, it's finished. He's like, these projects I work on are finished. He's like, I'm just slowly hearing the next part come to me as it comes. So he's kind of saying how like he feels like this is him in time, this mic, and this is where he needs to end up being. And throughout it, he adds pieces. It's not like it's just gonna appear this way, but it's not gonna happen right now either. So he slowly just waits, picks up pieces along the way, and he says that he can sometimes kind of hear it, and then he loses it. And then he's like, then I focus and I can really hear the next piece, and then I'll add that snare
for sure,
and then I'll add this vocal.
That's dope. I love that.
It's just like that transcendental, like maybe you can't say it's not, so why not just say it? Maybe he's just being like nudged. Like think of all the people. Like I think of a guy like Kid Cudi. A lot of people, his fan base is like I don't want to say disturbed. Feels like it gives me that same Juice WRLD feeling where a lot of people really struggle.
He was Juice WRLD before Juice WRLD, and
he just think about me like literal lives he's saved.
Man on the Moon came out when I was in high school, and it was the first time I felt like someone was speaking in a way that made sense to me in music like that, and like I understood exactly where they were coming from, and they were like literally talking about like my situation or like my feelings and emotions at that time, like because that the music and during that era was like a lot of like more like
glitz and glam music,
club style stuff, like
you
radio
fancy, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, like stuff. Not even like even before that. Like you're looking
that's
at like
2010 maybe.
Like
2008,
Lil Jon was
Lil Wayne.
huge. Wayne was big. I mean, he was introspective, but not in that way. Or he had very like clever bars, but not in the way that
Very
Kid Cudi
clever
has.
bars. Sneaky good pen on that guy.
Not even sneaky. Good
It's
lyricist.
just-
He claims he never wrote anything down, and I kind of believe it. But
I believe him too. I just think like mentally, like I hear some of his bars, I'm just like, is he? You know, when he says best rapper alive, I feel like Lil Wayne's one of those guys who was like made to rap. He is a rapper.
He's a rapper
through and through,
Yep.
built, born for it.
Yep.
Nature over nurture. Screw that nature. He was born to
born
rap
as a rapper.
and is a rapper through
Yep.
and through from a
Definitely.
childhood.
Definitely.
Has the experience to back it up, the look, the
Yep.
name, the influence.
All of
Like he has a GOAT case in my opinion. It's not a strong one, but I think to say that he's not like poke holes then.
He's easily top 10.
Yeah.
If not, you can make the case top
And if-
5.
He
All
should
those
be
things.
He's a lot of people's favorite artist. You know.
Oh yeah, and that's why a lot of these conversations, like you said earlier, like To Pimp a Butterfly is top 10. Like it's very subjective, and I love the conversation, because you can never tell anybody that they're necessarily wrong, unless you want to go out there on a limb and say that like,
Gucci Gang is the best song ever.
or
made.
like or like Laffy Taffy by D4L back in the day is like a top 10 song of all time. Like I'm sorry that you can't.
Yeah.
That's not a conversation. Or like 6ix9ine is like one of the best rappers of his generation. Like I'm sorry.
This is a beyond disagreement. You're
There
wrong.
yeah. There are some opinions that cannot be valid. But but there is like music does have that sort of, to an extent, it's very subjective.
Yeah.
But if anybody said that like To Pimp a Butterfly wasn't a classic, I'd be like, all right, you just don't like it. It's not that it's not a classic.
Yeah, you gotta
just
recognize
don't like it.
its impact at some point,
You just don't like
whether
it.
you like it or not. You know,
Exactly.
it does what it does.
It's a classic.
I
It
love
is.
and you know what's funny? My favorite, the song that I listen to the most on it at this point is the last track, Mortal Man,
Mortal Man.
with it, and I listened to his interview with Tupac.
Yep.
It's like I didn't appreciate it because that was 6 years ago.
T-Pep?
Yeah, was I 15?
It was 14.
So,
yeah, it was 14.
Okay,
So
so
that was 8 years
that's
ago.
8 years ago.
8 years ago.
I was 13. I had no idea what I was hearing. Nowadays, I think back and I'm just like, that's nasty genius stuff. That he's the whole time reading a poem to Tupac and then
crazy.
took clips from an interview that he loves and rewrote questions and he laughs with them. He daps them up. That's the craziest thing in
That's
any
so
song
dope.
ever.
That's so
I
dope.
listen to that all the time.
It's a great album.
Great art. That's art.
Yeah.
And so I do have. Hold on. How much time? How deep are we? We're an hour 8. I
Okay.
do got one more important question though. I wanted to talk to you
About Kendrick or
about music. I
about music.
want to hear
okay.
your opinion.
First off, real quick before we get to that.
Yeah.
All right, just very quick, like off the top of your head, like favorite couple of tracks off of Mr. Morgan.
Oh yeah. We'll do that with you too. Favorite couple tracks. I'm gonna pick 3 because three's
Three's
the
good.
splash number. I'll say.
I'm a hoops guy. I love and I'm
love
a 3-point shooter. So
Are
that's my game.
I suck. You know what's funny? I played center.
Really?
Yeah, high school I played center.
Huh.
Yeah, rebounds, grit, tough.
Shooting guard, just straight threes coming off screens.
We're very
threes.
different.
Yeah.
I was told
But
to guard
we'd
you.
be two good intricate parts of a starting
We'd be
five.
great. We'd be
So there
great.
you go.
So I'd say, honestly, I'm gonna go with Rich Spirit, which we didn't talk about.
Good
I
song.
think sounds the best.
Yep.
That's the best, which is a part of the question I'm gonna ask you. I think that sounds the best. That's the most groovy. I can listen to that the most. That'll be the most played. Rich Spirit. Then I'm gonna go with Father Time, which we
Easily.
also didn't talk about.
Easily the best song on the
somehow.
album. Easily the best song on the album.
Easily.
In my opinion. Sorry.
No, easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
Well, that's subjective, but
Unless you-
yes,
yeah,
it's the
no,
best
it's
song.
true. It's the best
in
one.
my opinion, it's the best song on the album.
And then honestly, I'm really liking Mirror
Okay.
the more I listen to it.
Okay.
I don't love the I Choose Me, I'm Sorry sound. I don't like the sound of it that much, but I like the beats. It reminds me of the Black Panther album. Like, it's very like
Pretty cool.
sonically it sounds the
Sonically,
same.
it does. Yeah.
But what are your 3? Father Time.
Definitely Father Time.
Yeah.
Easily 100%. That's the best song in my opinion on the album.
Sampha's amazing. Amazing.
It just and then
No words.
topically, it's just all up my alley.
Oh my god.
And then Die Hard.
Yeah, that with Blackest,
Blackest, and the other this female singer her name's escaping me right now. Those two are definitely my favorite. And then, you know what? I hear you on the replayability thing, but I think We Cry Together,
deserves
the impact is the best. Is one of the
For
in
sure.
my opinion, it has to be one of the best songs.
Makes
on the
complete
project.
sense to me. You're definitely not crazy for saying that.
Although last thing on this album, and then we can definitely move on. He overused Kodak Black. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're in that camp. I think I maybe overused is a good word to put it, because that
Features fine.
that doesn't intend that you think it's like a bad. I think conceptually, the idea that Kodak's a flawed human, very flawed human.
Yeah, I would say so.
He's also a very. He is what a lot of rappers want to be or think they are. Like, he's actually the person that we're seeing Kodak be. I don't think it's fake. He is Florida. Legit, from like, he's got his hood ties. He's legit as it gets in a lot of ways. It's weird, and he can be conscious too in some of his music. I've listened to more Kodak than most people, and I've heard him say some things that I was like, really, Kodak saying this? And I think Kendrick sees this guy and says, oh, that's a version of me. If I went a certain way, I'm this guy. And I think he keeps him in the loop on the album, saying, I choose me. That's him saying, I choose this version of myself that's like, that you might not like. You might not like this, but I'm going to be me no matter what that means. And he feels like he associates himself more with Kodak and the flawed human that is Kodak than in the general perspective of who he should be. He'd rather be Kodak Black than whoever they want him to be.
Opinion somewhat changed here after hearing that. You say that.
I love Kodak.
I thought his feature was actually pretty dope. That song drives me crazy with the hook.
So this is part of the question I'm going to ask you. So I'm going to, this is important. I feel like he sacrificed good sound and replayability heavily on this album.
Yes,
to say what he needed to say.
I agree with that.
And in the end, what music, I want to play music. I want to hear the music. And while I love it kind of almost being a movie for me, like, I listen to the whole thing. If I hear one song, I'm like, let me go listen to the start again. Let me go back to the whole thing because it's fun. But I don't see myself really, other than Rich Spirit and Die Hard, there's not a lot of like mainstream sounding or like just good music as music is. Is that a worthwhile risk to take? Does that make it valid? I know a lot of people, because a lot of people are going to be like, listen, I'm not listening to this, so what's the point anyway? If it's not good enough to listen to, why even have the point? Does he get a pass just because he's Kendrick for that purpose? No one would listen to this if it wasn't Kendrick. So, at least I don't think so. Not many. Not 350,000.
Depends on who, but okay.
So, I'm just wondering like what your thoughts on that exchange is, because obviously the best music sounds good and topically does it all.
Right.
But what's your thought on that exchange?
It's an interesting question. I really like when an album or a body of work has something to say. I would prefer that over the quality of sound, because you can always find songs that have the quality of sound that you want and to listen to. Like there's artists where they've dropped a couple of singles or they have songs that I absolutely love, and I don't think they've ever put out like a good quality project.
I like First Class by Jack Harlow. I do.
That album sucks.
Album blows.
That album's... What if Jack Harlow, if you're listening to this, you're definitely not, but why the fuck did you sell out, bro? You sold out. You straight up sold out. You're actually like, you're overrated, but you're also very talented. You're You're very talented. So
Swag is there too. He's natural human.
You should have had a way better album than that. Shame on you. So yes, I would okay, are some of Jack Harlow's songs gonna make the radio and have maybe a little bit more replayability? I even say radio, like I don't even know if the people listen to the radio anymore.
Yeah.
Are they all right? Put it this way: is it gonna be
bangers.
playlisted on certain like vibe and sonic playlists more so than maybe some of Kendrick's songs? Sure, but bro, you ain't saying shit on your album. I don't care. You can find good. There's enough music right now is saturated enough that you can find good music, or music that you can just like roll down in your windows and listen to and jam out and live carefree for. You can find that anywhere.
Yeah.
And people that are not named Jack Harlow are doing it way better than Jack Harlow. So like, this is my whole point with my long-winded way of saying, I would rather you come out with a body of work that is impactful and meaningful and took a creative risk, whether that be sonically or topically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would rather that 100%, because you can find, like I said, you can find a song like that anywhere these
You really
days.
opened my mind to the other side of it. It's so common, I didn't even think of that as being the other side. But basically all music right now is sacrificing topically for the sound.
So,
and I didn't
so
even,
why not?
it's so common that it didn't even compute to me
Mm-hmm.
until you just spelled it out, really.
Yeah.
So it's totally worth it, because I think the other way is worth it too. I think making music that sounds good, no harm in that. Let's make all the sound good music in the world. I want to party sometimes. I want to not care. A lot of times it's a venue to not care. You can just say words you don't even mean almost.
Try to do both, obviously.
And then if you can do both, if you can really say something and have like Father Time's a good example. Like, that's a good song. Like, I think that like the hook's good. You got Scarfo on it, love him, and you get a good verse, you get a good beat, and you're saying probably the most unique thing on the album. No one talks about that. Mm-hmm. Guys with daddy issues, extremely common. It's every guy, because masculinity is what masculinity is.
Yeah.
At this point, not a lot. Like, you know, like, and now people were very like, and that's, you know, you ever wonder why majority of suicides are 40 to 50-year-old men? Why is that? These people are insecure and they're lost, and they got screwed up by looking at whoever was before them. And I feel like
sense.
It's just such a common thing, and I thought that was a great example of it all coming together.
For sure.
But he definitely took some sonic risks and kind of had to like omit in order to say all the things he wanted to say. Because it's not 5 years of work, but it's 5 years of thoughts, I feel like.
Yeah, although I don't think sonically, though, it really...
It's not bad. No, it's good.
Yeah. All right. When you suggest like replayability in terms of like, you know, is it gonna make like these playlists or, you know, radio hit, like, are they gonna be like radio hits that are like timeless? Probably not. But I like that it's a project that needs that full listen.
Yeah.
Like, we don't get enough of that these days. Everything's just so quick hitting. Mm-hmm. Everyone's putting out EPs now. Yeah. Like, that's in the music scene. That's what I see a lot. Is a lot of people are really into the EPs because everyone's attention spans suck right now.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to listen to an hour-long album. Nobody wants to watch a 3-hour movie. They'd rather watch a 1.5 hour movie, or they'd rather somehow they find watching a TV
Grey's
show.
Anatomy.
Yeah, or a TV show that is 10 episodes an hour each. Somehow they're like, oh, that's easier to digest than a 3-hour movie. Why, I'm not sure, but that's because it's actually more time when you think about it.
Yeah.
Or like TikTok. Why is TikTok so big? Because you can scroll, and also like so easy, and also every TikTok is anywhere less than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Some of them are even.
And I would never stick around for a 3-minute TikTok. How funny is that?
No, a lot of people wouldn't. The best TikToks are like the 30-second ones.
For sure.
Or like, you know, that live in that like 20 to 30-second range.
Yeah, so it's just like it's kind of like a good way to talk about like society and how it is right now with just like
our attention spans suck.
It's short, and it makes it. I feel like it does add a cool element of like, I feel like there's two ways to go about art. Either throw a ton of restrictions on it, and then you kind of back yourself into a creative corner, and then you have to find new ways out. You have to turn. I always say, like, you're in a corner. All right, turn around. And then, you know, I just feel like that's like a way I think of it. And then there's the other way of doing it where you take all the restrictions off, and then you have, you know, you're outside the box type of idea.
Sure.
Where this this is gonna clamp down. Like, you can't do the same thing in 3 hours that you can in 30 seconds. And people want 30 seconds now, not 3 hours.
Everybody wants.
So we'll see some cool. It'll spark some really cool, and it has some. I can't think of any off the top of my head. Some really cool things with like 30 seconds. I think that like Kanye's project, Yay, 7 songs, tight, 35 minutes. Songs were 2-3 minutes. I loved that album. I thought it wouldn't be around if it wasn't such a low attention span society. A 7-song album, just
all those albums were 7 songs and like around the 20 to 30 minute mark. The Nas album, the Daytona Pusha T, the Tiana Taylor album,
Kids See Ghosts.
They were all like 7 tracks.
Yeah, and I thought that was like, I think it just brewed some room for like he had to adjust to the game, and I think it made for maybe not Kanye's best album, of course, but it's beautiful in its own sense. It's cool. I think that it adds a new level to this. Gives people more options. I think it's cool.
Yeah. Speaking of that, an artist I work closely with from Winchester, Massachusetts, who is actually going to be as we're recording this, he has back-to-back shows in Boston opening up for 070 Shake by the name of Johan Lennox. Wow. And he's out in LA. He actually worked on
name.
Great name. It's because Johan, so I'll backtrack. He's a good artist friend of mine. Shout out Johan Lennox. And I've done a ton of promotion for him. I think his music, he just dropped an album same day as Kendrick called What Do You Want to Be When You Grow Up? You should, very different though, different styles. He does like this interesting blend of orchestra and classical music with contemporary pop.
Cool.
And I'm telling you right now, if anybody's listening to this, it's my biggest recommendation to go listen to right now. It's the most dynamic and detailed and also outside the box pop album you'll ever hear. And I highly, 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 highly recommend it. He did a ton of the string arrangements and production for all those Kanye albums you're talking about, the good music albums.
Wow.
Like the opening to Nas's album on that with Puff Daddy, he did the entire string arrangement orchestration.
Really?
So background with him, his real name is not Johan Lennox. Johan comes from his favorite conductor because he was classically trained until he was in high school, like throughout high school.
Johann Sebastian Bach?
I don't know if that's the one, but there's a couple of different guys that had that Johan.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And Lennox is the town in Western Mass where Tanglewood is, which is the classical orchestral camp. Like that's out there for like young kids. So his background is all he was a conductor, he was like an aspiring conductor, like a prodigy actually, and like wrote sheet music and all that. And then he was on an acid trip, and he listened to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy for the first time, and it changed like his whole perspective on like music. Now like he pretty much started singing and writing his own music and trying to bridge like classical music with contemporary. And Kanye, actually producers No ID and Mike Dean got a hold of him.
Wow.
Because he made this thing called Beethoven with a friend of his.
Beethoven.
Where they did mixtures or blends of Kanye music with Beethoven music, and it went viral.
That's cool.
And then Kanye heard it and brought him in for all those albums, and he's been out in LA ever since.
Wow.
And
from Winchester.
And he's from Winchester, Massachusetts.
Is that where Joyner Lucas is from?
Worcester.
Crap.
Worcester.
I knew that.
Very different places.
I knew that.
Winchester is white suburbia, and Worcester is a melting pot of many, many different nationalities and ethnicities. But long story short, this is the type of stuff that some Massachusetts artists and Massachusetts commodities are doing, but nobody knows about it because it's not marketed out here as like a music hub.
That's kind of what that's what you're doing then.
That's the whole point. That's the whole point, is to get more shine for these people.
You're shining the light on the good stuff here. That's
exactly.
Cool. That's cool.
Because he's a name in LA. Like he doesn't need more exposure in LA necessarily. Like he's doing his thing in LA. But the problem is like outside of probably the people he knows, like, and I'm not saying people don't know him out here, but like we should be, my whole point of this is our whole platform. And my point is like, let's uplift the people that are from here. Mm-hmm. Like when I got into this industry here, it was very competitive. It wasn't like, oh, let's help each other and like build together. It was like, oh, I see you as a threat, so I'm gonna either break you down or I'm gonna ignore you, and I'm not gonna work with you, and I'm gonna try to beat you. It's like this rat race for a prize that's like American cheese. Like, it's not even good cheese. Like, no one cared. Like, Massachusetts,
It's not even good cheese.
it's not. It's Massachusetts, right? Like, we're not a hub for music right now. It's just, or we are. We have a music scene, and a budding one, a really, really good one that people should pay attention to. If you are from Massachusetts and you are not tapped into the Massachusetts music scene, aka you're not following us, follow us, because I guarantee you will find an artist or a musician or a producer from this area that is doing huge things that you would never know about, or you'd find an amazing indie artist or band that will be your new favorite band or having your new favorite song. I guarantee it. Do not sleep on Massachusetts as a music scene. The producer, the producer John Glass, who I was talking about earlier, he just produced the Bia J. Cole song.
Really?
Yep, him and Tim Nehan, who are both from Massachusetts. John's from Beverly, and Tim is from Reading, and John is a part owner of the studio that I record at now, and like another good friend of mine in the music industry, and Aziz the Sheikh, who is from Nashua, New Hampshire. I think New England too, right? Nashua, New Hampshire. He is Bia's main in-house producer. The three of them worked on the track together, and
that's so cool.
That became to be like. But so now they all have a
great track.
Phenomenal song.
Cool song.
Really cool
unique.
vibe.
I mean, J. Cole did his thing, but like unique in general. Before, like even without J. Cole in it, it'd be really cool.
Well, that's why I guess J. Cole, like the story they have is awesome. You guys should go check it out if you haven't. They explain the story on a very short podcast, like interview podcast or whatever. But the song, like I guess it was not supposed to be for J. Cole, and J. Cole heard it in a session that they were, I guess they were working on something else. Cole invited Bia and Aziz to the studio to work on something else. They showed him London, and he was like obsessed with it.
That's so cool.
Pretty cool.
Of course, he probably heard something different. He felt a niche, and they probably felt like a pocket to rap in, and was like, "Oh, this is nothing I've ever done. It's nothing he's ever done before," which is hard to say for these. I mean, not hard to say because the really great artists like himself, like they're constantly doing stuff that they haven't done before.
Yep.
But it's still hard to find at that point when he's done so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love what you're doing. I feel like it's very much spearheaded, obviously, with you. But it's a beautiful thing just in general to see people supporting each other, and the fact that that's basically what you do is a support system. It's awesome to me. And I do. So what we'll do to wrap up, we'll do two things. I want you to say. So you said what was his name? Johan.
Yep.
Lennox.
Yep.
So that's one. But I want you to give a couple more Massachusetts artists.
Yeah.
Just to talk about.
For sure.
Just to look at, and then you just say like what kind of music they make, who they are,
sure.
Whatever, and then I'll say the next thing after. But I want to hear a couple artists first.
All right, I'm gonna try to. I mean, there's so many. This is the issue. So anybody that's listening to this, you should follow our Spotify playlist, Night School New Music. I'll send it to you so you can link it. And I curate it every couple of weeks with brand new music. It has not only music from the New England and Massachusetts area, but also music that's like nationally, globally, whatever. So anybody that I don't talk about in this very short period of time right now, that it doesn't like tickle your fancy, don't worry. I work with a ton of artists and musicians. Go check out that playlist. There's going to be something on there that you will love. I guarantee it. I sound like the Jordans furniture guy right now.
I guarantee it.
You're going to love the way not
Whatever.
What was the one that I love? That's Men's Warehouse. It's not Jordan's. You're gonna love the way you look. I guarantee.
You're gonna love the way you look.
You're gonna love what you hear. I guarantee it. Anyway, so besides Johan Lennox, what do you want to be when you grow up? That's my biggest one right now. The next one is Brevin Kim.
Brevin Kim.
They're a duo. I don't remember from what town now. It's like somewhere in, I think, Central Mass, but I can't remember. If I'm mistaking that, my apologies, guys. They do like electronic, industrial, experimental, like pop hip hop. It's this crazy blend of stuff. Like if you would like it because you like Denzel Curry.
I do like Denzel Curry.
I know
a
you
lot.
like Denzel Curry.
You notice in the things.
I do. I know.
Put a lot of Denzel
I got
on
your. Yep. You would like it a lot. They do some really. They play with some sounds that like I don't think anybody in music is doing right now. On that same wave, there's this other artist named Taha, who's another really great friend of mine. Just like great people too. All these people, they're like also really good people. Taha, very similar, although he's much more like industrial rap and hip hop versus like Brevin Kim, a little bit more like pop and like indie, and they even like blend in like elements of rock, I would say too. Taha is much more of like an abrasive rapper, and just sort of just does that like noise rap so well, like very similar to like a JPEG Mafia or a Denzel Curry.
Mm-hmm.
So Taha is amazing. Sorry, I'm just. Oh, who else? I'm forgetting people. I think too, unfortunately, which is like gonna suck. Who else do I really fuck with out here? All right, so the Western Mass scene has some really interesting like hip hop that I would say it's definitely like more on the new school sound. My co-host Phoenix Rios, he's super dope. Definitely check out some of his stuff. Really like DK as well out of Western Mass. He does rap, he does hip hop, he produces, does like also a cool like pop sound that I think people should really will like and should check out. You know what? I'm gonna get up. I got a couple more definitely because I'm forgetting some people as I am doing this. Oh, I don't know how I forgot this guy, Garrett Merck.
Okay.
Crazy story about Garrett Merck. I was listening to Garrett Merck when I was in college.
Wow.
The song Fish Brains that my friend Presh, shout out Presh, who was also my
You know a lot of people.
I do know a lot of people. My roommate at the time. And we were listening to him in college. Like, this is way before the podcast. This is like 10 years ago. Because I'm a little older than you. Like I said, I'm 28. So I've been out of college for 6-ish years. And this was 2013. And I'm literally listening to him at that time. And then years later, I end up connecting with someone like Garrett Merck and getting into his stuff. And he does like really cool, I would say, like jazzy rap and like definitely does some boom bap as well. But definitely more like a modern spin on it. Super dope. Let's see, Neems. She's awesome. Does more like auto-tune style, like that pop rap that's been going on like lately. Like definitely like bright tones.
Doja Cat kind of.
Definitely like that style. She's phenomenal. Absolutely love her. Oh, Mako, who's like an indie alternative artist as well. He does a little bit of hip hop, but definitely bridges that with like the indie rock and alternative sounds. He's insane. His album's coming really soon. He's phenomenal, and a good friend of mine as well. God, who else should I talk about here? A couple more. Obviously Bia, she's fucking killing it. She's like one of the biggest artists in Massachusetts right now. Dev Soder and Stefan Thev, they're individuals, but they have a song right now called Wasted that's really good. Dev Soder, similarly to like I would say styles of Mako, very like cool alternative indie pop, indie rap. Stefan Thev, very similar. He has a really cool like punk rock song out right now called Zombies, Ghouls, and Goblins or some shit. I don't even know what the fuck.
Cool.
I'm like fucking it up. I don't think that's the name of it.
I mean, you're
Zombies,
taking a lot off the top of your head.
Yeah,
man.
Zombies, Skeletons, Ghosts. Well, I'm also using my phone, so I'm definitely cheating right now, but it's okay. Terminology just dropped. You remember Paul Wall back in the day? He was on Grills with Nelly.
Yeah.
So Terminology.
Wow.
This guy.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
Whoa.
So this guy Terminology
Nelly
from
as a kid.
Lawrence, literally one of the next towns over from here, from where you are in Lowell. He's been one of the biggest artists in Massachusetts for a decade and a half. And he just did a joint album with Paul Wall called Start to Finish, which we also wrote about. I got to go to the album release party, which was so tight.
That's so sick. That's so dope.
This is the type of stuff I'm starting to get into too, which like I get to like go to album release parties, cover shows. It's been pretty crazy. The last couple of months, things have really been taking off. But that's another one, like that album start to finish, amazing. Definitely go check that out. If you're a hip hop fan, you gotta listen to that. And then one of the last ones I'll say, This one seems obvious, is Van Buren. And they're a collective. Like, if you are into, if you're a hip hop fan, Van Buren would be the group I would go to. They have so many great artists in their collective. Meech, Giles, oh my God, Luke Bars, Saint Leor, Lord Felix, Ricky Felix, Andrew Regis. They're a collective that is just like they're next in terms of like Massachusetts right now. They're next. They're from Brockton, and they have an amazing album called Bad for Press that you guys should go check out. And the last one I will say is a band. They're not originally from here, but they're Berkeley guys, and they've now based out here.
Oh, cool.
Ripe.
They
do like really cool blend of like psychedelic rock, funk, very groovy, very jazzy, very just feel good, trippy, psychedelic, as I mentioned. It's super fucking cool. And it's great for this time of year and like the summertime. Like they put on some dope shows in the Cape, like at Wellfleet Beachcomber. And
oh, really?
They're fucking sick, man. Like if you like like psychedelic rock and stuff like that, because I know I did like a lot of indie rock and like indie pop and hip hop guys. But if you like that type of style of music, go check that out. So all in all, I tried with this question to give you a wide range.
I was just gonna say, I like how you did like a little bit of everything in a way. Like, is it, so if you got you don't gotta listen to everybody. You can't listen to everybody's music, but just pick something that you like, and then listen to it. Listen to your local artists.
Yes, support.
It's like buying local. You know what I mean?
It's true. Thing. Support your local artists. Like even if you're in a city or
podcasters.
Or podcasters too. If you're listening to if you're listening from out of state or whatever, like, yeah, I mean, support Massachusetts too, but like support your local artists too. There's scenes everywhere and pockets everywhere, and it's just again, and I'm leaving a lot of people off. It's just a testament to the amazing musicians and artists that we have in the scene that's going on in Massachusetts right now. So go follow that playlist. Go listen to it. I guarantee you're going to find a new artist and song that will be your favorite for your spring and summer playlist. So totally go check it out.
I'm glad you had like these guys. I'm glad you gave everybody a little bit of shine. That's cool. But yeah, so I think we're pretty much wrapped up here though.
Cool, man.
We got pretty much everything. We didn't get to the other stuff, the extra stuff. I knew we wouldn't. I knew we weren't going to get there.
That's okay. Nobody really needs to know. I mean, I've talked about it before that I coach basketball and
we don't gotta know
teach
it.
English. It's fine.
I knew this was going to happen. I knew that once me and you were in a room, we weren't going to be able to.
We're both talkers.
That's what we do.
It's fine.
So thank you very much for coming on, my man. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate all the collabs you do with me.
Yeah. I want to say too quick before we sign off here.
Yeah.
I really like what you're doing, man. I think for you having people on that is like kind of that broad variety as well, that people that do different things and not being boxed into like a specific thing for your podcast. Like I feel like it was the non-structure was actually amazing to just have a free-flowing conversation.
It's a non-structure structure. It's weird. It's like
it's a structure, but it's not structured.
It's exactly.
It's fucking sick.
It's hilarious,
and I love it.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool. And keep doing your thing, man. I think you will only level up from here.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're a good podcaster, so keep going, man.
Thank you. You don't get a lot of compliments, and people just come on. They don't compliment you. I appreciate the compliments. I appreciate it. And
my followers subscribe to this guy's podcast.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. 3 words out of me and 3 words out of you. We have to say Heat in blank or Celtics in blank, and then I'm gonna cut it. So, what do you think for this series? 3 words. Then I'll go.
Celtics in 7.
Heat in 7.